Hi, Eugène. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
All right. Well, we are so excited to talk to you today because what a movie! This one is so good, and you got to be excited to bring this to such a perfect crowd for Fantastic Fest, right?
But as I just said to your colleague who gave the preceding interview that I was very surprised at first that it was programmed in a fantasy festival because it's not that was not really I didn't see it as that sort of film, but we spoke about it with the two producers, and actually we found it very interesting that the film could find another sort of audience who came for other sorts of films but could also react positively to a film like this. And I'll be very interested in finding out how the audiences react to this film.
Absolutely, because it is a very deep thinking and deep feeling film, and I think that there's ways that people can connect to it, no matter what they think that they're getting into. So.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, these are very the crowd there is a very intelligent and film loving crowd. And so and one of the great things about the festival is they have a whole bunch of secret screenings and a bunch of movies that you just have never heard of that you go into and then you discover. So I think when you have a blank slate, a clean palette to go into, I think something like this is really kind of a perfect movie for it.
Well, I'm very happy about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's great. So I was curious as to what the best way is to describe it to the people of Fantastic Fest without spoiling
But it's a film. I don't know
it.
really how to. Uh, it's um, it's a film which treats very serious subjects about the contemporary world, but in a perhaps in a light sort of way, and also using what can be called fantasy. I don't even like that word actually very much, but it's a convenient word to people understand certain things when you say it. So I suppose that's the best way of describing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I know that when you talk to your actors about it, you probably had a certain description of it, and of course, the presentation is very unique. How much of this did you have mapped out, storyboarded exactly? Because it looked like it was pretty exact to where maybe your vision was.
Yes, well, my films, it's a particularity of my films that the script is very. I see each frame actually when I write the script, and so I describe it. And since I always work with the same cinematographer, Raphael Aubin, he understands perfectly what I want, and the dialogues are very written. They're very they express real emotions and real situations, but the style is not in realistic language style. And the Portuguese, I wrote it in French, but the Portuguese translation, I followed the translation because I speak Portuguese also, and the Portuguese translation is very good. It follows the style of the French original, and everything is very well, exteriorly at least everything is very established, well established and fixed. But what interests me most is what is hidden in real life, what the invisible part of real life. And so when I film actors, what I'm looking for is their interiority in the situation that their character is in. And so that I never know if it will come or if it won't come, and when it will come and how to get it if it doesn't come. Well, I have some ways of trying to get it, but you never really know. And that's the surprise. That's the improvised part of it. But exteriorly, my films aren't improvised at all. They're very, very well planned, and everything seems to be fixed.
Yeah, and it's especially impressive when you're working with children and animals too.
I know the animals are the most difficult to control because that's especially in this film because there are at least two animals who have an important part, the donkey and
Yeah.
the dog. And the donkey was, they were professionals, they were professional cinema actors. And the donkey was a good actress. Sometimes
Yeah.
she had some caprices of a diva, but normally she was very disciplined. But the dog was terrible. I've often worked with dogs, but I've never had a dog he was very nice, but he always did the exact opposite of
Yeah.
what we asked him to do. But we managed to, well, we managed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, and another thing I think that people find interesting is there's a lot of the characters facing the camera, sort of almost addressing the camera, like we would see in maybe theater, which we're not used to. It almost is unsettling to look right into their eyes sometimes, but that's kind of part of the point, right?
Because what I'm looking for, as I said, is the interiority of the person. And when you speak with someone, like we're speaking now through
Mhm.
a video conference,
Yeah.
but we're face to face, and a great part of the expression is through the gaze. But in traditional cinema rules, you have to make believe that you're not filming, and so the camera is hidden on the side, but in that way you only see a part of the gaze. And my when I start filming usually a dialogue, it's normal because there's a part of the actor who's listening, you see him, so the actor who's speaking looks at the other actor, which is normal in real life. That's what you do. But when it becomes more intense, the idea is that the camera is between the two speakers, and so technically the actor does look at the camera, but in the fiction, what he's looking at is the other person that he's speaking to. And so the audience receives the energy of the person who is speaking with the same intensity as you receive when you're speaking to someone who is directly in face of you.
Well, no, that's I really appreciated that point of sort of seeing the souls of the actors, through
Yes.
there. So that was great. Well, we have a lot of budding filmmakers at Fantastic Fest that will look at this and I'm sure, be inspired and think, see, I want to do what you do. What kind of advice would you give those directors and writers that want to do what you do so well?
Well, I wouldn't advise them to try imitating, because that's not good.
Yeah.
But to do what they really want to do, even if it doesn't correspond to the norm, or to the rules of cinema. I was never in a cinema school, so my only learning, my only cinema education was through cinephilia, the seeing films. And so I didn't know really what you had the right to do and what you don't have the right to do. And so I do what I want to do. And that's what I would advise them to do what they want to do. It's much harder in the United States than it is in Europe to come out of the mainstream and to do really what you want to do. But I think it's worth the effort and even the suffering.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Well, part of that is your outlook, and I think we talk about that on our show is that sort of mindset that you have to get through everything, whether or not you're having trouble with the work or anything. So, what do you keep in mind that keeps you on the right path to do this?
But see, when I create films, there's a sort of joy, and it gives a sense to being in the world. The world that we're living in now is not a very pretty world. It's much darker than when I was young in the 1960s and 70s. But creating films like this one, um, it it gives me joy. It's a joy which I share with the people who participate in the film, the actors and the crew and the producers. And it also gives, I found that when I present the film to audiences, it gives them hope and gives them also a sort of joy. So it's a shared joy, and that makes that makes everything worth the difficulty and the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much going on in this film besides what we see on the screen. There's so much to take in. What is it that you're hoping that people will think about or talk about or discuss afterwards? Because it's almost impossible not to discuss it with people.
But in the first level, I hope that they would be have been moved by the film, and that it created emotions. That's what my first objective is. And then afterwards, if they want to talk about it, yes, there are ideas in the film. The idea that you have to resist to the violence of the world, which is an expression of evil, but you can't resist violence by violence because that only produces more violence. So you have to find some sort of, by love in the most general way, by love you have to find some way of resisting violence, but which is not violent, and so which doesn't produce new violence.
Mhm. Now, I don't I want to visit Portugal, especially after seeing this, but also I don't want to be part of the problem either,
That's
or
the
get turned into
problem.
an animal.
But you have to go as a traveler, not as a tourist.
Mm,
A traveler is looking for alterity, for what is different, whereas a tourist wants to be at home in an exotic setting. So
mm,
the tourist makes Disneyland out of every place that he visits,
right.
whereas a traveler is marveled by the difference that he finds in the places that he visits.
Mhm. So will we get to see you as a traveler in Austin for Fantastic Fest?
No, but they invited Rui Pedro Silva, the main actor, and
Yes.
so I hope that he'll represent the film. And he's very intelligent. He's young, but he understands a lot of things. He celebrated his 21st birthday during the shoot, so
Oh,
I don't know. He'll still be 21, I think, but it's just before his birthday.
yeah. Well, we'll get him a drink over there to
That's good.
celebrate. Well, good. Well, then after this, I cannot wait to see what you have next for us. You're already planning the next film?
Well, actually, I already shot another film, but since I can't find funding in France anymore, the doors have closed. So I shot a film with friends with almost nothing as a budget in June. In 3 weeks, we shot 2 weeks actually. We
Mhm.
shot a film. It's a short feature film. It lasts a little more than an hour, and it takes place in a single place in a forest, but I hope it will be ready for next year.
Oh, good. Yeah, absolutely. Well, then, last thing, of course, going into this film, what is it that you hope that people will sort of keep in mind? Because I think if you go in with a certain mindset, you're going to get so much out of this.
But I think just to be open to it, because they may be surprised by the style because it doesn't resemble things that they know,
Mhm.
but they should just let themselves go and take it as they would any film. I guess, just before they may have seen a vampire film or
Yeah.
a horror film, so they should say it in the same way, and it will be different, of course, the experience, but they are the same persons, so they should just receive it as something intimate and in a very open way. That's what I advise them.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, we thank you so much for making this film. Really, really enjoyed it. Can't wait to hear what everybody has to say about it and look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.